Hello, everybody, and it's Gareth back again with another episode of Podpit, and I am delighted to have my good friend and co-collaborator David Whitehouse with me today. David and I, we've known each other for probably getting on 7 or 8 years now. We've collaborated on a great many projects together, web related. I was trying to put a number on that the other week, David, but it must be upwards of 30 or 40 websites now that we've done over the years.
Yeah, it's a fair few now between us. You know, it's easy to lose count of that many businesses that we've put out there.
Yeah. I would actually, I might make that a task for next week to actually work out how many jobs we've done together, because that could be a good one for the show notes. But yeah, Dave and I, we've done a lot of work together, and we've become great friends over the years. We've networked together in various business groups, and we also completed the Three Peaks Challenge. Well, David completed it. My back gave out, so I couldn't quite finish it. But we've done some pretty cool stuff like that before. And David's very kindly agreed to come on today and talk to us about the evolution of the website and of the World Wide Web. Sorry. And I think this is going to be a really interesting chat, because David's got some vast knowledge in this area, and he is very, very passionate about it. So I'm going to shut up now and pass over to David. He's going to introduce himself in a bit more detail and his business. So over to you, mate.
Hi, yes, thank you, Gareth. That was a wonderful intro, and yeah, I think it is just a quick one. It is always great working with you. I think that the benefit is that we've both got a passion for what we do. So we've always, I think that's why we became friends as well and worked so well together over the years. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're the paper guy, and I'm the ones and zeros digital guy, essentially, is the breakdown.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I run In Life, which is a web design and digital marketing agency. We've been going for 10 years now. Started back in 2011, in just a little loft space up where anybody come from meetings had to stand up, and now we've got a 1,200 square foot top floor office space, 7 members of staff. We've got pool table, arcade machines, classic arcades in there, and meeting rooms, and yeah, and just set it up how a business should be rather than following the rules. I think is the best way to describe.
Your office is absolutely brilliant. It's, if you've been lucky enough to visit In Life, you'll know what I'm talking about here. But if you haven't, look them up online, because you've got an incredible place to work that really does bring out the best in people. I think it's a really funky place to sit every day.
Cheers. So yeah, basically, my career has established around the web since day one. So I thought it'd be interesting to have a little chat about that and how what I work in has almost molded and created itself during my lifetime. Because I was born in 1981, classic child of the 80s. And that was the year the first home computer came out, essentially. So, what I'm working on was created within my lifetime. And then in 1996, I got my first computer, which is when the web was really first starting to come out.
Yeah.
And then 1998 is when it got a bit bigger, and everybody was getting up on the dial-up modems. I was the kid my mum was shouting at to get off the internet so she could use the phone.
Yeah.
And that was in 98 when I was 15 years old, and I started creating my first website. And put in perspective, that was the year Google was founded in 98.
Mm-hmm.
You speak to any kid nowadays, think Google's been around forever. They don't know what the encyclopedias was in your mum's bookshelf, where like I mean, you have to go and do our homework. And back in the day, the only way you tell where your friends were is by where the pile of BMXs were outside Whitehouse.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so it's been great to have something that's grown alongside me in my career.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, from 98, I mean, that was the year I got detention at school as well for hacking into the school network. And I was the kid at youth club sat in the computer room, while everybody's outside, sniffing gas or whatever they do. And yeah, I was in the computer room playing with the computers, messing around, and just loved it,
Yeah.
and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's that sort of a time period where the internet was sort of the building blocks of it were starting to form. Nobody really knew where this was going to go, and the difference then to where we are now, is it's light years apart, and that change has happened in our lifestyle, like in our adult lives as well, because we're about the same sort of age. So, from the age of 14, 15 to now, it's incomprehensible, really, how the development in the World Wide Web and how powerful it's become.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the fastest growing, or fastest evolutionary fields to be in, because nothing in our life, in the history of mankind, has evolved and happened so quickly. And on top of itself, all the other careers, like trades careers, like plumbing, it might change, some new better pipes will come out or something, but it's not, it's completely changing and going ridiculously, the speed like fast.
Yeah.
From having, the first computer that put man into space, which now we've got more computing power in our washing machines.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely ridiculous how fast it's going. So, yeah, I mean, in sort of moving on from that through time, I went on to do computer studies at college, and then I went on to eventually graduate university in 2004 in computing science, because back then, again, there was no web design degrees. You go to a university now, there's 12 odd different types of web design degree.
Yeah.
Back then, I had to put together modules because I knew web design, it was my passion. I knew it was going to be big, and I felt love for it. I knew that it was where I wanted to aim my career in putting things online. But there's no web design degrees, so I was, had to kind of mold my own modules to create what was a web design degree. So I graduated in 2004 with that.
Yeah.
And again, to put things in perspective, that was the year Facebook was founded.
Yeah.
Back in 2004.
Mm-hmm. I remember that because I was at the same uni as you, but I was the year behind you. So I can remember Facebook becoming a thing. Can you remember MySpace? That was the first sort of social.
Yeah, Tom was our first ever online friend, wasn't he?
He was, wasn't he? Yeah. I wonder what Tom's doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably sat like counting his dollars because he sold it, didn't he, eventually? But I remember when Facebook became a thing, and it was, I remember being stood in my university at the Leavers Ball for the year. So it's the end of year ball. And all of my friends around me were talking about this new thing, Facebook. And I just thought, what's that? And somebody said, it's the new MySpace. It's going to take over. And at the time, everyone used MySpace. And I thought, nah, it won't. It's just the same sort of thing, just a different name. Well, how wrong was I? Because now that's kind of like an alternative internet in itself, isn't it? Facebook.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of Facebook is one of the key things that's evolved alongside the web was MySpace let you do anything. You could program it, change your colors, do everything you want, and mess around with it. Facebook forced you down a path of what they decided was the best usability.
Yeah.
And that has become a real key point in the web, that simplicity has become the key. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So anything that is simpler and sends the user on a journey to that end goal, which is their end goal, where they want to be going, but also as a business combines with your goal of where you want to send them to.
Yeah.
If you can get that right on a website, then you've hit gold, and that's what Facebook did well.
Yeah, and it's become the behemoth that it is based on those like core fundamentals that they set out very early on. It is mad to think that was 2004 when that happened. We're now 2020. Like, it's mental how different that is now. But yeah, so your career your career really started after university. So you've got your computer science degree. You've sort of created your own niche and specialism yourself. in the web design? Because obviously there's quite a lot you can do with computer science, but you sort of focused on that web design element. And what did you do after university?
Yeah, so well, during uni, I did a sandwich course. So I did a work placement and at IBM in IT support. So that made me realise that's not what I wanted to do, which was useful in that respect. But during that time as well, I created my own website, which was the world's first and became the world's largest UK modified car club. So and again, I created that before Facebook, before YouTube, before Twitter. This was an online forum, and it just grew massive because it was the first and only one out there. So, at the time, my uni days, we were hanging around with the likes of Max Power magazine, Fast Car magazine, going to all their after shows, hanging out with all their models. So it was a great time because we got the only website out there that was evolved around that.
So are you saying, sorry, David, so are you saying that the Fast and Furious was actually born from you guys and you and your friends? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much, yeah. If you can imagine Fast and Furious with like Novas, Micras, and Corsas, then yeah,
with body kits and big exhausts with holes in and like
big neons underneath. That's it, yeah.
Brilliant, love it.
Yeah, so that was but then after uni, I then went to work. I started as junior web designer at Phones for You. And then within 3 months, I became senior web designer at Phones for You.
Right.
And that was 2005. And again, just in year perspective, that was the year YouTube started. Right. And YouTube, if you think of how fast that's going now, it's a go-to for everybody. That was 2005, which feels like yesterday.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's mad. That is.
And then
isn't that the second biggest search engine on the internet now after Google? I'm sure YouTube is, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, I can't remember the exact figure, but there's just ridiculous amounts of data being uploaded every minute.
Yeah.
I did look at the data once, and it's just crazy what's the amount of data that's going on there.
Yeah. It's big files, isn't it? So a lot of files, and all of those files are massive, great, hundreds of megabytes of files, of megabyte sizes per file uploaded. It is ridiculous, actually. I think it was my father-in-law a while ago, and I don't know where this is from, but apparently the internet duplicates itself in backups every 24 hours or something, so it grows exponentially in a day.
Oh yeah, it is turning into the eventually the big Skynet, Terminator style thing that's going to take over us all.
Yeah.
Grow its own artificial intelligent life, and my only hope in that is that it'll realise that I'm one of its mothers as a creator and spare me when it does grow artificial intelligence.
I'm hoping to be dead and buried by the time that happens. But
the speed things are going. It could be next week.
Could be. Sorry, yeah. So you're out now at Phones for You. You've had a very, very fast promotion up to senior developer. And so what's happening now?
Yeah, so I sort of outgrew my time there, and Stafford University actually approached me because being one of the only students who specialised in web design, because they were looking for a web designer. So I had an email from Stafford Uni with a great offering to create their website from scratch, work back at the uni. So I went back there and I became web designer and developer for Stafford University for a while. And also got to give a few lectures in there and sit in the hub of, the latest things coming out. So that was great while I was there. And that was back in 2007. And then after that, I got to the point in Stafford Uni where I finished the website, everything was set up, and I just felt like I was twiddling my thumbs. So I wanted something new, exciting again to get my teeth into. And the company Vibe Audio, who make really cool car speakers and audio, and they were big in the car scene as well. Back in the day, which I was into. They were looking for a new web designer to create everything from scratch for them. So that was a really exciting opportunity. And because of my history, and because they knew me through the car clubs as well, I got the job there. So I had a great time working at Vibe. Absolutely loved it there. I got to bring their demo cars home at the weekend. I got to drive some of their like R8 demo cars to shows. I'd volunteer to go to all the shows. So I was their web designer, and also I'd bit at the show on top of their truck with a speaker and a microphone and presenting everything. And it was a great time working there. And there I was convincing there. I remember convincing the boss that they needed a Facebook page, telling him he did, and they were like, no, and eventually went for it. And now it's just, I lost. I mean, last time I looked at it, it was like 20,000 followers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of their biggest, areas now of bringing revenue through social media.
Yeah. I mean, social media is probably an element of the internet that we probably will shelve for another day, because that's a discussion in itself. But those early days when these things were sort of coming out and establishing themselves, like coincide with massive leaps forward in the power of the internet as well. Because can you imagine trying to use Facebook on dial-up? Can you imagine that? And the infinite scroll as well, that would just, oh god, that would do you nut, wouldn't it? I mean,
I remember waiting like hours for a single MP3 to download.
Yeah.
I mean, just sitting there waiting for the latest like Limp Bizkit MP3 or whatever it was to download at the time.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Now you just click it, bang, it's there.
Yeah,
it's so fast. I mean, do you think that the pace of life has dictated that we need more from the internet, or do you think the internet has dictated that we need to speed up because it's allowed us to be so fast and efficient with our digital sort of lives?
I think there's a good quote from Einstein that says, the advance of human technology is like an axe in the hands of a pathological killer. At the moment, we've been like a kid finding fire, is where we've been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Burning ourselves, getting it wrong, working it out, finding our feet, and that's how we've been. But we have been in the mid of a revolution that a lot of people have just come to accept and take for granted. If you was to tell us as a kid, when we're looking at an encyclopedia, that when you're older you will have the entire wealth of human knowledge in the palm of your hand, you think we'll be gods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we've got now. We have got the entire wealth of human knowledge in the palm of our hand. You ask any kid any question, give them 5 seconds, they'll give you the answer.
Yeah.
And that in itself is unreal when you think about it, when you really deeply think about it, the philosophy behind it, the power the internet has given us. It's unreal. But at the same time, with great power, as Spider-Man once said, becomes great responsibility. Or his uncle said.
His uncle. What's Spider-Man's uncle called? Phil.
Oh, I don't know.
Or Phil? Uncle Phil? Uncle Bob? I can't remember that. That's going to annoy
me. I don't remember, aren't they?
Yeah. We'll have to Google that in a minute. We'll Google that when we get off.
We've got the wealth of human knowledge in our hands, but we can't be bothered to Google it right now.
Yeah. Well, I remember as well, like I was terrible. I'm not particularly academic, but I was particularly poor with maths and numbers. Like my maths, I've never really been interested in numbers. And I remember my maths teacher sort of having a dig at me one day. I just do it on a calculator, miss. And it was like, well, you won't have a calculator on you all the time, will you? And it's like, well, actually, sorry, Miss Smith, but you were wrong. So, but I think you're right. Like, we have, like, you did a presentation a while ago about the power in your pocket. How powerful is this device? This device could send, there was a device that first sent people into space that was 50,000 times bigger than this, because it'd fill a room. And now the power in this small device that we all have in our pockets is mind-blowing, really. And
when you think what the internet is, you say the internet, and it's like saying electricity. I mean, nobody, unless you're a scientist, you don't really understand what electricity properly is. All you know is you plug it in the wall and it works. And at the end of the day, the internet is just a bunch of computers connected. That's all it is. And it's the knowledge, the share of knowledge is the underlying element behind that. The instant share of knowledge, finding out things on the internet, watching news unravel, wars happen as they happen without walking down to the paper shop the next day to read it in the news. And that has changed a lot, and it's scared the government a lot, knowing that knowledge can be out there for everybody, what's really happening,
Yeah.
in the world.
Mm.
And
Should-
there's the whole kind of, they try to suppress the internet as well and control it at some point, and that's what I mean. It's finding its feet.
Yeah.
Because you get people. I mean, when it first came online, people put things on Twitter. One of the actors of Mandalorian got fired the other week because she's recently put something on Twitter.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, what you put on Twitter is for the world to see.
Mm.
It's like standing in the middle of a supermarket with a megaphone and shouting it out.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared to do that,
Yeah.
don't put it on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's. I did see that actually. She's a former MMA fighter, isn't she? And I think she said something in jest and not really thought through the implications of those actions, considering she's got over a million followers, and it's obviously come back to bite her on the ass a little bit.
She said Alderaan things in Alderaan places. Just a little Star Wars joke there.
So the internet is something that's ingrained with our lives and will be going forward. So how do you feel the web has been good for us, and how do you feel it's been bad for us?
That kind of links to the next evolution in my career, really, from starting in life after Vibe Audio, starting my own business, because we called the business In Life because back in 2010, 2011, we could see that's the way the web was going to go. It was going to become in your life. It was going to be part and parcel, wearable technology, and it is doing that more and more so now. Mm-hmm. So the good that's come from it is the revolutions. It's freed Egypt, from tyranny, because people could communicate and share things. It's getting a lot of knowledge out there. Still, people are still waking up a lot. Like WikiLeaks, whether you consider it good or bad, it got a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
That we would never ordinarily know. Mm-hmm. So it's revolutionizing the world, and it's still young. It's still a baby, and it's still playing with fire.
It's in its infancy.
But we're finding our feet with it. So that the good and bad, it's not as black and white as breaking down the good and bad. What we might perceive as good could end up being bad for the world, and vice versa. So it's bringing us together in terms of community now. We can all talk to each other, like me and you. We used to hang out down here. You've obviously moved to Salisbury now.
Yeah.
We're still talking face to face, having a chat.
Yeah.
I see what Illiton's doing on social media, and we're sending images to each other about things.
Yeah.
And it's great. So when we do catch up, it's not like, oh, so
where have you been?
Yeah, how's the dog? Oh, the dog died 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And which is what it was like, I remember, you go and meet your mates at the weekend when you're in school. You'd be like, right, I'll be at McDonald's outside 1 o'clock. Don't be late. Yeah. And if they got there and they were 5 minutes late, you're stressing, palms are sweating, you're thinking, oh my God. And then now, you're like, what time are you going to be there? Oh, I don't know, I'm on my way now, mate. Oh, I better leave as well. And it's like, well, I'll talk to you on the way down then. And you think, that's the web, isn't it? The internet is, well, the internet, I mean, we'll talk probably more about mobile phones there, but, the internet directly affects them with 4G and so on. Anyway, but it's sped us up. It's made everything more accessible. It's sharing of knowledge. It's it's made the world smaller, hasn't it?
And the underlying argument is that behind that is, there's the argument that it's making us all, disconnected. We're just so face value and just out there for the likes and everything. But at the same time, back in the day, corner shops and villages, everybody knew what was happening in the village. You always knew what Mad Bob was doing down the road or whatever, and everybody was in a little community of their village.
Yeah.
And it's almost recreated that now. So when you see your friend again, oh yeah, how's your mum? How did that go? And it's created that kind of community aspect. But at the same time, there's the flip side where it can disconnect us, and you get the kids who sit in their bedroom, never seen daylight, playing games online, chatting to their friends, and then when they come to speak to somebody in public or actually have a physical meeting, break down because they've not got that face-to-face communication. And like I say, it's not as black and white. We're still finding our feet, and it's still a grey area, and we're still in the infancy of making it happen. But as humans, that's what we do, and we will do. We just have to do it very quick with the internet, as opposed to over thousands of years.
Yeah. So we're at the very start of the evolutionary process with the web. So, in terms of, I do agree with everything you said there as well. The sharing of knowledge, the bringing us closer together, isn't it? The rule of 7. You're in the 7 degrees of separation. You're only 7 people away.
Originally, it was 6 degrees of separation.
That was it, yeah.
Or the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, which is a great website of how many actors away a certain actor is from being in the film with another one. Yeah. But actually, Facebook's algorithm recently worked out that you're more than 3.5 degrees of separation. So you're 3.5 degrees away from knowing, I don't know, Jackie Chan or anybody, essentially, based on your connections that you've got.
Yeah. Which is a bit crazy because I wouldn't want to be the half.
Yeah.
But no, it is mad though, and that change. So the 6 degrees of separation has nearly halved in the space of, I would say, probably the last 20 years, like 10, 20 years, I'd say, because the days of dial-up internet. I don't really think you can. I think the internet really sort of gathered pace when the fibre, the high speed lines came in.
Yeah.
That dial-up internet was almost like the beta for today's internet, wasn't it?
I kind of miss that now, because the internet was such a more lovely place when the general public weren't on there ruining it.
Yeah.
It was lovely when us geeks had it to ourselves, but we could do what we wanted. Those are the days. Now you have your mum, your nan, your gran, and a bucket of Vindaloo on there, and they've ruined it.
It's not safe anymore. It's not safe. No. So what do you think has been the bad side of it? Like, how you've seen it being good for us, but how do you feel it could be? We could be better with it.
Yeah, it's the axe in the hand of the pathological killer, isn't it? That's essentially what it is. It can separate us. It can make you aware of things that you don't want to be aware of. I've had people say to me, "Oh, don't use Facebook because my missus doesn't like it. It breaks down relationships." It's like, no, mate. Facebook doesn't do that. You do that. Facebook's the tool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like saying, I don't have a gun because I'd shoot someone. That's it gives people the opportunity to do things they wouldn't ordinarily do or ordinarily say, and gives them that false sense of security. And also, obviously, there's the whole security issue of people getting hacked on there. People giving their bank details, having their information stole off them. Complete denial of service attacks on businesses. There's always people that are going to use a tool for bad as well as a tool for good, and that's why I say it's the force. It's the balance, and that's what it is. That there is no black and white. There's got to be a yin yang of the internet.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you said that then, because of all of the things that we've said that are good about the internet, we've said it brings us closer together. It allows us to share knowledge. It gives us access to things faster. So all of the good things, it's about what it does. All of the bad things have been, well, we're using it wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't do this. You allow yourself to fall into the trap of doing this. And I think the bad in the internet is it doesn't really do anything bad. It allows us to do all of these things. It's down to the people, like the squidgy bit on the end of the computer, to do more good with it than it is than to do bad. So that's
quite telling. Nail on the head there. Definitely.
Yeah. So going for like David and I have both got young children. Well, you've got an older daughter, haven't you, as well? So
yeah.
May's, how old is she now?
She's 18.
Bloody hell! So she's not that little anymore at all.
No.
She's grown up, so she's probably seen like even more of this sort of high speed of evolution of the internet. But your youngest is 5, my little girl's 4, so we've got children of a similar age. What do you think? So this is like prediction time now. So in 20 years, we'll have to come back and listen to this, because let's see what you're predicting now. So what do you think our children will inherit in terms of the World Wide Web?
I don't know if it'll be in 20 years, but man, as I'll say, man in the least sexist term, do you know what I mean? But person has always gone through natural evolution, and I think we've hit the peak where we are going to be creating our own form of evolution. So inherent tech, you've already got things like wearable limbs now that people can control the muscles that actually squeeze. Devices that can give people sight. Elon Musk's working on the brain technology now, where you can control things with power of thought, or you can suddenly give you the ability to learn to play the piano just through electrical signals in the brain. And that's the way it's going to go. It's going to be man-made evolution. So we are going to be inherently creating our next stage of evolution ourselves. So think Matrix, essentially. Wearable tech, inherent tech that's part of your body. They've already tested contact lenses that would bring up a complete screen, and successfully tested contact lenses that bring up a screen in front of you, so you can navigate, read your emails. Imagine that combined with brain power to dare and do things.
Like Minority Report, that, isn't it? When he's sort of sat there and he's pulling things in and pushing it to one side and bringing it like that.
Like biological computing, really, and the quantum computer. I mean, at the moment, computers work off ones and zeros. The quantum computer would work off ones and zeros plus one or zeros plus one and zeros and zeros. So a quantum computer could work out mathematical equations that would take a standard computer tens of thousands of years in minutes. And we're already very close. They've already done the first quantum computation, actually, by the testing computers. And imagine something that could potentially look at our entire history online, our images, the complete collection of everything we've created online, and work out our character and who we are and our mannerisms, and potentially just create, after we're gone, recreate us exactly as we are from the print we've left along the line. I mean, everything online we've ever left, that sort of footprint. You can essentially just recreate our characteristics from that in quantum computing in a real virtual reality person. It's all going to be about that VR. Almost, I've got the VR headset at the moment. I was hanging out with Chris, or the director in Life, last night, playing ping pong with him. We went to a club, we watched some live music, but we were just hanging out in the Oculus VR system. And I keep those because as I said, in my office, I've got a collection of my first games consoles, the first ever Nintendo. So I've got the first Oculus that came out, and I've got the second one. I've got the PlayStation VR. And rather than selling them, I'm keeping them, because when Harrison's older, I can see that's the way things are going to go. So I want him to have the collection of the first ones that came out. And I keep the box pristine and everything. I'm not a hoarder. I don't keep everything, but those I want to keep, because I've got a feeling that's the way it's going to go, and it's going to be good to have that original one.
So you see that the future of the internet and the technology that surrounds it is going to start to allow humans to start taking control of their future evolution and start to form their own future. So right now, what's the film, the future? Is it the Terminator films when they say the future's not set? Whilst you're predicting that we will start to set our own future.
And going back to, as I said, if you'd have walked up to me and you as kids and said, in the future you will have the entire wealth of human knowledge in the palm of your hands, you would have been scared. That's a scary thought. And now me saying to you now that you'll be able to control the brain, with the computer, have wearable tech, to us, that's a scary thought, because it's the unknown. But in the future, it'll be natural. It'll just be the natural evolution that, we've fallen into. And hopefully it'll free up people, it might free up, eventually bring peace to all mankind would be nice, wouldn't it? free us of work, so the robots do everything, where we can just grow our own food, go out in the community, have a nice time,
Yeah.
enjoy the sun and the natural earth, as long as we don't go completely technical, so it doesn't end up like Terminator. Keep the trees, keep the natural earth, the wilderness around us, and find that harmonious balance.
Yeah.
It could be a really nice future.
It could well be. It could well be. So there's something you touched on there where you were talking about the technology that can look at your digital footprint, and it can basically recreate you, effectively forming a clone of you at any point in your life where it's got data from your digital footprint. So digital footprint is something that I wasn't expecting to sort of bring up, but the digital footprint that we all have that we probably don't realize that we've got is pretty massive, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, that can be used for bad. That's how a lot of people clone, create fake profiles at the moment and clone you and pretend to be you and try and scam money out of friends and so on.
Yeah.
Because there's people just physically doing it at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really interesting research to look at how many passwords you actually have stored on your computer, and you can get it all from your browsers. Google Chrome gives you a list of your passwords.
Yeah.
And just next time you're on the internet and you've got 5 minutes spare, just go and see how many passwords you have stored on your computer's internal memory, because I think you'll be blown away at how much of your data is just sat there on other people's servers. It's pretty crazy, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. Data is the next. It's like gold now. Essentially, personal data is almost like a currency online now, and that's why GDPR and everything that's coming into play to try and reel that in and stop people sharing data or selling data, or that they shouldn't be.
Yeah, and again, that is something that the hoarding of data is not necessarily a bad thing, because it allows businesses to thrive, it allows people to be successful, it allows people to lead better lives. And the internet's allowed that to happen, or allowed us to do that and harvest it. But all of the bad stuff that comes from that is all people looking at it going, hold on a minute, we can make a quick buck here, or hold on a minute, we can extort money from this here.
Yeah.
So all of the bad shit is come from people at the squidgy bit at the end of the computer.
That's it. And again, the philosophy behind that is that they've been brought up and their process through life has led them to that situation where they feel that's what they've got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get to a point where everybody is sort of on par, and then there'd be no need to do that. There's always going to be the balance in the force, but hopefully the light side will prevail.
There's lots to talk about here, and I'm sure we could probably dig loads deeper, but I am conscious of time. So can we talk about you and you're obviously a very knowledgeable guy in terms of the internet and websites, all of that. Could you pinpoint your why? Like, why do you do what you do? What is it that really draws you to the technology around the web?
I think it's, if I was to really sort of narrow it down, it's the excitement of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved, like mountain biking, riding off the edge of a cliff face and not knowing what's going to hit there.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping out of a plane, and I've got my solo skydiver's license, and just not knowing what's going to happen next. And it's that exciting thrill, and I think that's what got me into it originally. It was the unknown. It was new. We were creating the web. I mean, I was creating websites, like I say, before Facebook, before anything else. Hacking into the school network before even the IT admin knew how to do it. It was the excitement of the unknown and what's going to happen next, and it's ever changingness. I think that's the thrill behind it.
That fascination and curiosity behind what's coming next. That is what drives you,
I think so, yeah. I never really sort of considered it until this second, but that's sort of how it feels to me. And I think a lot of agencies now, web design agencies, I've had employees come to me who've worked for an agency, and their boss really just hasn't understood the internet. They've had a design, like a great looking design like you'd create for a website, and then the boss has gone, right, yeah, turn it live now, and they said, like, well, no, we've got to code it up first. And I just put that on the internet now. Do you know what I mean? They're just like, people who are creating web design agencies now are almost like jumping on it because it's the next big thing. Because it's the next money maker. Oh, the internet's going to be big, and that sort of things. Whereas for us, it's been a passion and a joy. And I think that goes back to why I sort of think, I mean, you were, because I know you're exactly the same with what you do in the design.
Yeah. No, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to be passionate about the web to actually really fully embrace it and forge a career in there. It's not something that you can really sort of make a quick buck out of, because it's such a fast and evolving world that, you know, you have a 2-week holiday as a web developer, and there's 4 more languages being developed, and you've got to learn all of that again, and you've got to catch up real quick, which is probably why web developers don't really go outside much, actually, because they just can't afford it.
But I think a word of warning there as well for anybody, any of the listeners that are looking to get a website, is that there's lots of, a website isn't just a website. There's a lot of people out there who've buying these online self-build websites like Wix and things, and then selling them on for thousands. So that building this drag and drop sort of solution and selling it on for a lot of money. And then people are getting unstuck when they want to get found on Google then, or want to go further with that's like custom into it, because it's not got custom code around it. So there's a lot of people getting caught out by people trying to make a big book. So it's worth doing your research first.
Do your research, make sure you're comfortable with who you're working with, and if you can find a web design company that are like yours, that they can actually hold a conversation on a human level, albeit maybe on Zoom at the minute, but actually that you phone them up and you say hello, and they say hello back, and they feel like they're waiting to engage in a conversation. Like, that is worth its weight in gold, because there's as a designer, I speak to and come across a lot of techies who literally are shit scared of engaging in conversation one-to-one, and it's something in the makeup of the technically minded, and it's not criticism. It's just like they can't. Their mind works differently. Their mind works very differently, and they're much more comfortable with computers than they are with people sometimes. And but these minds are incredible minds that need to be leveraged, because they're going to deliver this evolution of the internet that we see going forward. So if you can find a web development company that can hold a conversation, listen to you, understand you, and then tell you how that they can help you in return, and make you understand what they're going to do, that is worth its weight in gold, I think.
I think you're right there as well, and we are quite unique. And I think going back to, we weren't, born into the web. You know what I mean? We were there before, and we were there during, and we've been there after. So we're in that unique position where we can enjoy it, utilize it, but we've still got our 80s kids skills. Do you know what I mean? Communication. We've still got that, and I think that, again, saying how the internet's finding its feet, what it's spread at the moment is a bunch of techies who've lost that side of things, and hopefully it'll find its feet and bring that back as well.
I just dread to think what my little girl's going to be. My little girl's 4 now, and we try and avoid letting her have phones or iPads too often. Obviously, it's impossible to stop it completely, because they're just really useful things on occasion. But I dread to think what it's going to be like when she's older, because when I was 4, like 4 to like 8 or 9, I had a ball and a stick and muddy knees, and I'd be eating a worm or something, and like, I just think now, like, kids are just not gonna be like that at all.
And I think it's important for us to find that, going back to that nature balance as well, and I try and do that with Harrison. So last night he was in virtual reality playing Star Wars with Yoda. He was got a lightsaber, having a little fight with Yoda in his VR. As his iPad. But then a few days before, we went tree climbing, and we were looking for the best trees that he could climb over the common by us, and getting his knees dirty and getting out on the bike. And it's finding that balance of earth and technology, and that's the key thing, I think.
It's important that we don't forget where we've come from, I think, because there's going to be a generation of people who just don't appreciate the value of getting some fresh air in your lungs, and
definitely.
it is important that. So cool. Well, it's been a great chat, mate. There's probably loads more we could do. There's probably we could probably go into a lot more detail, but I think this has been a great sort of opening chat about the internet, and I'm sure that we'll have a chance to do this again in more detail. Maybe move it towards like a more social media sort of side of things, which is obviously a big chunk of the internet nowadays. We'll maybe get you on for another episode soon, because it would be good to follow this up, I think. So what I'll do is I'll put all your details in the show notes. So if people want to reach out to you to talk about websites, technology around the websites, like apps or stuff like that, what's the best way of getting in touch?
Via email, really. Just if you pop my email in there, I'm always happy. Just advice as well. If anybody just wants advice, I'm always happy to talk geek.
Yeah, talk geek. I like that. Well, you do a good website audit as well, don't you?
So I mean, we offer a free website audit where we'll check out your website, give you feedback on the code and how much quality it is for search optimization, but also some advice on usability and things. And that's a free sort of 4-page audit we do. And whether people go away that and give that to their current web developer to work on, have a go themselves, or come to us to do it, it's all our sort of goal of making the web a better place, really.
Cool. So I'll put all of the information in the show notes for that, and if people do want to reach out, I'll drop your email in there as well. So thank you very much, mate, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Gareth. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and hopefully soon, when we're not locked down, we'll go out and test out our new pickup trucks, because
and karaoke.
Karaoke, yeah. That's an in-joke, that is. Some people listening might know what that means, but yeah.
I asked if we were going to be singing this morning when I told somebody I was coming on. So,
you're welcome. Anyway.
Right. On that note.
Right, cheers, mate. I'll speak to you soon. Take it steady.
Thanks a lot.